In Cuba, the citizens are rising up against their communist government, and people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and BLM leaders are finding a way to put the blame on America. It's pretty amazing. Some protesters in Cuba are actually waving our flag to show their disdain for their communist regime, and the far left can only see us as the bad guys. Here's AOC's summary of her official statement. We stand in solidarity with the Cuban people and condemn the suppression of the media, speech, and protest. We also call for an end to the U.S. embargo and additional Trump-era restrictions that are profoundly contributing to the suffering of Cubans. That's rich, isn't it? She even found a way to blame Donald Trump. But what the congressman is missing is that if the embargo was never put into place, the people of Cuba would still be poor, and they would still be oppressed. The people aren't protesting the embargo. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of doctors in Cuba choose to drive taxis, and it's not because of American policies. BLM's official statement was even worse. Black Lives Matter condemns the U.S. federal government's inhumane treatment of Cubans and urges it to immediately lift the economic embargo. This cruel and inhumane policy, instituted with the explicit intention of destabilizing the country and undermining Cubans' right to choose their own government, is at the heart of Cuba's current crisis. Black Lives Matter believes that people in Cuba choose to be oppressed. Think about how ridiculous that is. And think about what that says about BLM. Just like Colin Kaepernick, it's never been about police brutality or systemic racism. It's always been about their Marxist ideology. When I coached baseball in Germany, before I arrived, my star pitcher had gone to Cuba to train. He hired a hitting and pitching coach that worked with him full-time for 6 months. He also fell in love with a very pretty young lady. They got married so he could take her back to Germany. I actually stayed at their house the first week I was there, and she quickly attacked me. Out of the blue, she aggressively said, "I know what you think about Cuba, but you're wrong." I really didn't say anything to that. Then she continued, "Americans think their country is so great and that Cuba sucks, but we love our country. Cuba is wonderful." Here I was, a new coach for her husband's baseball team, and I'm staying with them for a few days, so I didn't want to get into anything with her. Then she went at me again. "Americans think they know everything, but you're wrong about Cuba." So I finally said, "Well, why aren't there Americans floating in makeshift rafts trying to get to Cuba?" That made her pretty angry, but it shut her up. Now, I understand why she was so defensive about Cuba. It's her home country and full of the people she loves. And she grew up hearing nothing but anti-American propaganda. I wanted to give her a pass. But my question is, why is AOC and BLM so defensive? It's because they don't want communism to be blamed for Cuba's problems. That's always their argument, isn't it? The problem isn't communism or socialism, it's just that it's never been done the right way before. Then they point to a capitalist country like Sweden and claim that's what they're really talking about when they say socialism. But if that's the case, then why is BLM and AOC afraid to call out the communist government of Cuba? Why did Colin Kaepernick wear a t-shirt with Fidel Castro on it? Or why are Che Guevara shirts so popular with leftists? AOC is speaking out of both sides of her mouth. She says she wants the people of Cuba to be free to protest, but at the same time, she's blaming their problems on our country, a country that protects the right of the people to protest. Then if you look at every communist or socialist country throughout history, they have all had that in common. The people could not freely protest in the Soviet Union. They can't freely protest in Venezuela, China, or Cuba either. And it's all because of their system of government. Communist countries always have to rule from the top down, and that means they necessarily have to shut down people who speak out against them. Because communism is built on control, speaking out jeopardizes their entire system. The reason people aren't free to protest in a communist country is because people aren't free to live the lives they want to live. If the American left rose to power here, we'd find out quickly that they agree with using force to stop their opposition, just like they're doing in Cuba. You know, after that Cuban lady got her German citizenship, she left her German husband and married a Cuban guy and brought him over to Germany. So much for her claims of how wonderful Cuba is. A communist government has to govern with a heavy hand, because they can only stay in power if they have complete control over the people. That's what people like AOC actually want. And that's what BLM wants. They want complete control over our lives. Why? Because they're communists. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.